This is the PR Podcast, a show about how public relations helps you tell your story to the world. We talk with great PR practitioners who have the skills, creativity, and just plain savvy to get their clients noticed. Now here's your host, Jody Fisher.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the PR Podcast. I'm Jody Fisher. Thanks for joining us. Well, hope August is treating you well. This is a month where a lot of people kind of downshift, right? And take time off. Everybody kind of goes away. So it's almost like the safe month for people to go away. Although I've been finding this year that there's no safe time for people to go away. The news cycle just seems to keep churning and churning and churning. But hope you're taking some time to at least downshift. Maybe you're on a beach somewhere, your favorite vacation spot as you're listening to this. And appreciate you tuning in. We have such a great guest this week that I'm going to skip all the mumbo jumbo that I normally throw in the beginning of the podcast and just get right to it. Peter Shankman is a dad, an entrepreneur, an Ironman, a skydiver, author, keynoter, New York City born and raised. He's frequently tapped by media as an expert in social media and messaging. He is the host of the Faster Than Normal podcast, and I am honored to call him a friend. Peter Shankman, welcome to the PR Podcast.
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I am doing well. You are a man of the world. Where do we find you today?
I am in New York City. I am in my apartment overlooking Manhattan. I am in Hell's Kitchen. You find me on my 49th birthday of all things. So it is. I already got my workout in. Got a good 1.5 mile swim this morning. Hanging out with my dog. Gonna pick up my daughter in a bit from camp, and doing good.
So here is the obvious question. How do you fit all this stuff into a day or a week or a month or a year?
Cocaine. No, I'm kidding. No, I learned a long time ago that my ADHD is incredibly beneficial if I allow it to be. The biggest problem that I have is, I want to do so many things. And so what I have learned is that to do the things I want to do, it has to be about priorities. Certain things have to be important. Certain things have to not be important. And so I am not your typical, I'm 49 years old, and I was up at 4 a.m. to go to my swim this morning. And, it was funny. I was thinking about it. I was leaving the apartment. I'm like, 19 years ago today, I threw this ridiculous party for my birthday. And I was probably just getting home at this time. And now I'm waking up and leaving to exercise. And so things change, but the benefit is that if you want to do certain things, you have to decide which things are not important, because we all have the same 24 hours and only 24 hours in the day. So while most people think this is crazy, I'm a single dad who's training for this Ironman, and I don't want my training. Plus, I'm running a company and traveling over the world for speaking. I don't want my any of that to impact the time I have with my daughter. And so, she's 8 years old. Her bedtime is 7:45 p.m. I'm usually asleep by 8:15. And, people think that's crazy, but I'm also up at 3:30 in the morning. Tomorrow morning, I have my daughter this weekend, and I have to, as part of my training plan, is I have a 70-mile bike ride tomorrow. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it on my Peloton. And I'm going to start at around 3 a.m. And I will get on the bike. I will put on the Just Ride feature. I will turn on probably, I'm rewatching Alias again because Jennifer Garner. And well, actually, to be honest, because Victor Garber. And so I'm probably going to put on season 1 of Alias and watch 4, 5, 6 episodes and bike for 3.5 hours and ride 70 miles. And I will be done by 6:30 before my daughter wakes up. And you decide what you want to do and you do it, and you find a way.
That's part of the reason why I wanted to have you on, is because I think in the PR world that we talk about here on the PR Podcast, there may be this perception that we're always working, right? And we kind of always are, right? We've always got our phone there. We're always trying to be responsive and available. That's kind of the job description. But in order to do that effectively, as you are describing, you must prioritize and you must figure out what's important and what you can leave off to the side, right?
You have to determine what's important to you. And that is, something that not a lot of people really do. I run a mastermind group, right? About 50 people. We all, we have our, we use each other for accountability and things like that. And one of the things I've noticed is when people leave the group, they always say, oh, I really like it. I just don't have the time. Like, well, it's not exactly true. You have the time. You just don't have the desire. Because I know a lot of people who have really tough schedules, and run their companies and raise their kids and do whatever. And they all seem to have the time. They make the time for what's important. And that's a real key, because you find that, I remember a friend of mine used to be amazed at how early I got up every morning to work out. And she always said, God, I wish I could do that. That's just amazing. I wish I could get up that early and work out. And finally, one day I just called her and I'm like, I noticed that you liked a bunch of my photos on Instagram at 2:30 in the morning last night, or 1:30 in the morning. Maybe if you were sleeping, you could wake up this early. It's not that you don't have the ability. I'm not doing anything magical. I just decided that this is more important. And, we do work our asses off in PR and marketing and advertising, whatever it is I do. I'm working my ass off. But one thing I learned probably about 10 years ago, I'm not good at it if I'm not taking care of myself first. And that was a really hard lesson to learn, Jody, because I remember I was quoted in a daily news piece once about caffeine. They came to my office and they took a picture of me sitting behind my desk, with like covered in Diet Coke cans and Diet Pepsi bottles and coffee cups. Peter sleeps about 3 hours a night, drinks a lot of caffeine. I was killing myself, man. I wasn't being useful. I wasn't being healthy. And you realize that it is just so much more that matters. And so I get 6, 7, 8 hours a night. And for me, that's what really matters, because I know that that's what's going to make me be at my best, as my best for work, my best as a parent, my best as everything, right? And so you got to take care of yourself first. And you're never going to be at the point where any relationship you have is longer than the relationship with yourself. I don't care how much you love your job, how much you love what you do. You're never going to find anything that's more important than the relationship you have with yourself. And so if you're not handling that one first, that's sort of the foundation. If you're not handling that one first, everything else is just going to be kind of yucky.
Yeah, that's a great point. I find that, and you and I have similar schedules. I'm an early riser as well. I've eliminated a couple destructive things from my life as well. Never felt better. And I think we give ourselves an awful lot of rope to hang ourselves with. If there are people that we make excuses for the most, we make excuses for ourselves.
Yeah.
And I even had a tweet about, I just thought of this, I had a tweet about this several months ago about, don't listen to the voices in your head, because the voices in your head will talk you out of anything. They will help you, at least from my personality. They'll make me take the low road every time. They'll make me stay in bed. They'll make me, slack off of work or whatever. And if you keep listening to those voices, you're going down a path that you're going to have a hard time recovering from. And so love to hear your story about how you have carved out that time for yourself to do all these amazing things that you do.
One of the things that I've learned, there's a quote I once heard. It's called playing the tape forward. And what I learned was that when that alarm goes off at 3:30 in the morning and I don't want to get up, and that happens, we're human, that happens. I think about how I'm going to feel in 12 hours. How am I going to feel at 3:30 in the afternoon? Regardless of whether I get up and work out or stay in bed and oversleep, the one guarantee is that 12 hours later will come. I can't control that. What I can control is how I enter 12 hours later. Am I going to enter 12 hours later proud of myself for having done that workout? Am I going to enter 12 hours later feeling stronger, feeling happier? Am I going to enter 12 hours later with all of the dopamine and serotonin and adrenaline still flowing through my workout, my brain from that workout, which makes me more in control? Or am I going to sleep in, wake up maybe a little less tired, but have it hanging over me for the entire day that I didn't do the thing I wanted to do. And look, I'm not perfect. Of course, I miss workouts every once in a while, and I oversleep and I sleep in. It happens. We're human beings. But I find that playing the tape forward allows me to helps me prevent myself from talking myself out of things a lot more than if I don't. So how am I going to feel this afternoon, this evening, tomorrow? The Ironman's in 65 days. How am I going to feel in 65 days? If I don't get that 70-mile ride in tomorrow, how am I going to feel at mile 80 of the bike ride when it's 100 degrees outside and I still have a 40 miles and a damn marathon in front of me?
And that's the Kona. My understanding is that's the hardest one in the world, right?
Yeah, I'm not very smart, Jody. It is the hardest one in the world. It is the Kona Iron Man. Takes place in Kona, Hawaii, essentially on a mountain, on a volcano. It is, the winds on the bike course are approximately 40 miles an hour, crosswind, so you never actually get a tailwind. Yeah, it's going to be a long ass day. Well, but I'm doing it to raise $125,000 for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, which is I feel like a really good thing. If you're gonna get your own ass kicked, that's probably the good way to do it.
Absolutely. And our paths cross there. I have done work for the local chapter of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society here on Long Island as well. So I know the great work that they do, and the way they really, to use your phrase, kick ass in what they do. Let's pivot to, shy of the personal stuff. What is the most important business thing that Peter Shankman is doing right now?
I am doing several things. I mean, I'm still speaking. I'm still, a lot of it's virtual, which again, for the ADHD in me, makes it interesting because, I plan my day out so meticulously because that's how I handle my ADHD. I have a calendar that's full and I'm always busy, or at least have booked. And free time is not necessarily my favorite thing because, who knows, right? So it used to be a keynote in Tokyo would take 4 days. You get there, leave on Tuesday, get there on Wednesday, speak on Thursday, come back on Thursday night. Now a keynote in Tokyo over Zoom takes about 45 minutes. And so now it's like a Tuesday morning, like, all right, well, that's all I needed to do for the week. I don't know, I can start a company or experiment with meth, it's like
buy a pizza, right?
So you want to make sure you're keeping yourself busy and occupied. So what am I working on right now? I'm still speaking. I am still consulting. I'm helping various companies focus on neurodiversity. The premise that hiring the neurodiverse, so ADD, ADHD, autism, executive function disorder, spectrum, those people wind up generating a level of creativity that comes to businesses that businesses sorely need, and businesses don't really know how to do that. And so I'm doing a lot of that, which is beneficial for the company. I enjoy doing it. I still run my podcast called Faster Than Normal, which focuses on ADHD and the benefits of it. We have had over 200 something interviews and episodes. Being an awesome dad, which is a lot of fun. And then I had to put my foot down and tell my daughter that we just don't have the room or the time for a dog. So I have a dog, and we are 10 months. The dog's 10 months old, and we're having a blast with him. So work-wise, I'm doing a lot of everything because it keeps me busy and focused. I have a cryptocurrency now. It's called Shankcoin. It lives on the Rally network. It's worth about $8.50 a coin, which is pretty crazy. And that coin can be used for access to me. It can be used to purchase things. It's pretty amazing. It runs on the Rally network off the back of Ethereum. So you could buy it on Coinbase. It's amazing. It's pretty exciting. That's growing like wildfire. So yeah, I'm staying busy. I'm still. It's funny. I have a. Every once in a while, I get this bug in my head that says, you should really buy Harrow back. And then I'm like, you don't want to do that. But it's like the two Kermit memes, the meme of the two Kermits talking to each other, the good Kermit and the bad Kermit. You should do something kind for the universe. You should buy Harrow back. So, I don't think I'm going to do that, but I am definitely staying busy. I'm an angel investor in several companies. One of the companies I'm an advisor to just got acquired, which is really nice. Great company called Dynamic Signal. They were acquired by Social Chorus. So yeah, I'm I'm waiting for in-person events to come back, because those 14 hours on a plane to Asia or to Australia or whatever are really my sanity reboot and brain reboot. And I miss that so terribly.
Well, you wrote an entire book on a plane, if I remember
Several
correctly,
of them.
right? Let's talk a little. You brought it up, so let's talk a little bit about Harrow. And you were the founder, the creator of Harrow. And there are lots of ways to connect with reporters, and we talk a lot here on the podcast about how to connect with reporters, from research to ethical, to how you pitch, etc. When you created that, what was the inspiration? Why did you feel you needed to create that?
I talk to everyone. My ADHD means that I talk to everyone. If you're in a plane next to me, unless you fake your own death, I'm gonna know everything about you by the time we get off the plane. Now, notice I didn't say you're gonna know everything about me. I like to listen. I like to learn. So I created this ridiculous. I had this massive Rolodex, and reporters started calling me. They said, "Hey, you know everyone. I'm doing a story on blah blah blah. Who do you know?" And in my head, it was a way to help people, right? It was a really nice way to just let me connect some people, do a good deed. And I wasn't really planning on doing anything with it. And then I remember, like it was yesterday, I was running for a subway, and I missed the door. The door closed. I slammed into the side of the subway, and I broke a rib. And so it was the one time in my life I ever took a Percocet. And so I'm lying on my bed, high as a kite on this Percocet, and I get a phone call from PR Newswire, who owned ProfNet, and they said, "You're stealing our queries." And mind you, high as a kite on Percocet. No. So well, we put out a query that we saw you put out a query, and we put out. A reporter sends me the same query. I send, they send to you. How? No. But seriously, I was like, look, the reporter sent us the same query to both of us. How am I stealing your queries? I'm like, and then because I was high in person, I'm like, oh my God, Pravda, you're like totally stealing my queries. And I said, guys, look, I have 150 members in my little newsletter. It's a Facebook group, for fuck's sake. Here's when I'm no longer on this Percocet, buy me a steak and a martini for dinner, and I will give you those members. I'm not doing this to make money. And they said, fine, we'll be in touch. And they hung up the phone. And then a week later, I was like working. I'm like, I just had this memory. I'm like, holy shit, they threatened me when I was in the Percocet days. They never called back. How rude. Oh, I'm totally blowing this up. And that was literally, they could have had Harrow for the cost of a steak and a martini, and they didn't. And when I realized, when I remembered, I'm like, man, they threatened to sue me. Oh, screw this. Like 24 hours later, I had a website and had a mailing list, and yeah, the rest is history. The difference was I didn't charge for it, and I allowed you to forward the queries to other people, and it blew up. God, it blew up. And it was fun. It was so much fun. I remember 2008, so it was 13 years. Jesus, 13 years ago today. I remember like Harrow was probably about 20,000 people big, and all the agencies were on it. And I announced in the morning Harrow, that was my birthday, and by like 2 p.m. there were like 6 cakes that were sent to my apartment from different agencies. It was so funny. But no, man, I always wanted to help.
And a great gift for a guy with ADHD.
Right? Just seriously, here's some more sugar. But no, I like helping people, And so for me, it was really like, how can I help people? What can I build that helps people? What can I do? And, and that's everything I've always wanted to do.
Yeah. It was an incredible resource. It continues to be a very, very helpful resource to a lot of PR people. And I feel like we, in our day-to-day are also inundated with all these sort of shiny new objects, right? That can help us do our job better. And I think you probably agree with me that it still comes back to what you practice every day, which is relationships, getting in with reporters, giving them something of value when you interact with them, and having them think of you as a reliable and valuable resource that they can come back to when they need something, and giving them something, whether it's your client or whether it's just something else, just being helpful to them. That's what creates that relationship.
I think one of the biggest things that we don't realize is that, and I learned this very early on, public relations is not about making your client happy. Public relations is about making the reporter happy. If you make the reporter happy, the client's will be happy by default. And reporters today have to do 10 times more with 5 times more with 10 times less, 10 times more with 5 times less. And so, you're sitting there and you're like, well, how can I help them? I mean, literally the company was named Help a Reporter Out, right? How can I help these reporters and make their lives easier? And that is what allowed me to build the company, because it was useful. I created something useful. I It's funny. The only downside, not really downside, I don't do PR anymore, is I can't pitch anymore. I'm so inside baseball. People still know me as the Harrow guy. Like if I ever have a pitch, they're like, "Hey, Peter, hi, Harrow." I'm like, I sold it 11 years ago. I have an idea for a story, but no, I just wanted to help people. And that's really all I've ever wanted to do.
And we see you on CNN all the time.
Yeah.
They typically tap you as, I guess, my impression, not only a social media expert, but sort of a marketing and communications expert, and what you're talking about in terms of helping people and exchanging information, right?
Helping people. I talk about PR. CNN calls me and MSNBC calls me. They call me to talk about marketing, advertising, PR. They call me to talk about branding, bad branding, good branding. When a company does something stupid and they get an uproar, I get called for that. It's funny. A lot of it has, it seems like they're doing it every single day now. So it's like it's almost the norm, which is really funny. It's like not as much calls as you might imagine, because companies doing stupid crap all the time. The bar keeps getting lower, as scary as that seems. But no, it's fun. They call me a lot, and they actually love the fact that I live in New York and I have a high tech camera set up, so I can actually look. I don't look like I'm staring into a Mac. My joke is that no matter how good I feel about myself, I might drop a ton of weight. I'm getting stronger because of the races, the training. Yet I still I open up that front facing camera and it's like, hey there, you Shrek looking bag of bitch. It does not change. Never.
Yeah, those
really
webcams doesn't matter, man. Those webcams do nobody anything. Yeah. Speaking of dumb decisions by companies, and the last 18 months, and everything we've all gone through, and certainly not to make light of this very serious life or death consequences of that. Have you seen any companies either make great decisions or lousy decisions in the last 18 months, and maybe even speculate on what companies might need to do going forward in the context of COVID pandemic and what we're dealing with right now with Delta?
Companies need to understand that it's still very much a crazy, weird time for all of us, and we are in a ridiculous situation, to the point where the problem is that no one knows. There is no answer. I can't tell you what's going to happen. I can't tell you where everything's going to go. No one can. And so to make judgment calls like, we're going back to the office in August. Well, when that judgment call was made, Delta variant didn't exist, right? What's the joke? Man plans while God laughs, or God laughs while man plans, whatever. And so I think the best thing that companies can do right now is the people running the companies put themselves in the shoes of the employee who doesn't really have the ability to call the shots for that company. It's one thing to say we'll go back to the office when your office is on the top floor in a sanitized room. It's another thing to say we'll go back to the office when you're in a cubicle farm of 400 people and you don't know who's gotten vaxxed because we can't trust anyone anymore. So I think that one of the things that has happened, COVID has fast forwarded the concept that, it is very easy to work from home and we can remote and we can do these things. And by the way, all that productivity loss you thought you were going to have, you're not having. More importantly, the neurodiverse are loving working from home because now they can work the way they want and be that much more productive. In some cases, 15, 20, 25% more productive. So the biggest thing that companies need to understand is that they can't just make draconian decisions and assume everything will fall into place. Nothing falls into place, right? So it has to start from a place of caring and a place of we are willing to let people learn what the best situation is, and we will adapt from there.
Speaking of throttling back, I should say, to public relations and reporters and media, what is your assessment of how the media has covered the pandemic? And I'm specifically thinking of the factual and less than factual information that's being put out there. It's my impression that, and I just had this frustration even this morning as we're taping this, this seemingly equal platform that anti-vaxxers and misinformation folks are given relative to factual information that are sort of put on the same plane sometimes. And I think very dangerously so by the media, in the name of both sides. And really sometimes my opinion, when it comes down to it, there really is no both sides in here. We all agree that all the medical professionals agree that the vaccine is safe and everybody should be taking it. Do you see any good or bad decisions being made by media in the context of reporting on COVID?
The problem with what the media is doing is that they are trying to put stuff out as quickly as they get it because everyone else is doing that. And the downside is that we don't necessarily see what is happening, where the actual facts are coming from. And it doesn't take much in our society today to convince people otherwise. You know, we just I'm not getting political here, but several months ago, we had a commander-in-chief, the leader of the free world, who suggested that injecting bleach or putting light up your butt, or could solve the problem. And there is such a divide right now that, look, from a business standpoint, not an ethical standpoint, from strictly a business standpoint, if I'm running a news organization and I'm working strictly from a business standpoint, yeah, I'm going to take full advantage of that divide, and I'm going to capture that audience as much as I possibly can, and use that divide as a way to generate revenue, because I know what my audience is doing. Like, look at Fox News, right? On the flip side, CNN does the same thing on the other side of the coin. But so that's and you saw what happened when Fox News called Arizona before anyone else. They lost a third of their audience. Right. So, I mean, granted, they all went to OAN, which doesn't, okay. But, so yeah, there's that really fine line between, wow, this company, we can make a lot of money here, and we also have a duty to the truth. And the problem is, 50 years ago, we had a duty to the truth, and it wasn't about revenue. Revenue still mattered, but it was more about a duty to the truth. And as the people who used to inform us died off, unfortunately, that was lost. And so, would it be great if companies were able to just tell sure, the problem is that social media has only amplified that, and you're not going to be able to get that cat back in the bag at all. The only thing you can do is make the truth louder than the lies, because you're not going to be able to get, if I can create a meme in Facebook and 20 minutes later it's shared by 10,000 people and it's believed, you can't stop that. Short of banning the internet, you can't stop that. So the key is to create better truth.
I like that phrase a lot. Better truth. That is definitely a good one. I'm going to steal, if you don't mind.
Oh, feel free.
What's the state of news media? I mean, what's the future? Where are we going?
Well, I remember 25 years ago, 30 years ago, I was working at the AOL newsroom, and everyone thought, oh, it's going to be citizen journalism. No, none of that happened. Look at an app like Citizen. Citizen, I don't know if you have it where you are. Citizen is an app that you keep on your phone, and every time there's anything, it immediately sends you an alert. I don't need an alert at 3 a.m. that 18 blocks away a car flipped over. This is New York City. That's called Tuesday. I don't need that. What I need is when something affects me specifically within a 2-block radius. Until you get down to that point, citizen journalism, local news doesn't really matter to me. I'm still going to Google News. I'm still going to my regular sources for information. Short of walking downstairs and seeing the flipped over car, I'd like to know what's going on in different ways. I think the future of news is a lot of the sort of citizen journalism apps will be picked up and molded into sort of one outlet, and it will look similar to what we're doing right now, but there will be a lot more accessibility to it and availability to it. Fact of the matter is we can go online right now and start reading news about just what's happening in a 10-block radius, and we'll be reading it for the next 30 years. So we need to figure out a better way to streamline that, and a better way to get the information we need when we need it as it's happening, depending on what we're doing. So hopefully that's where we're going.
What role do young journalists play coming up? I mean, people who want to be the journalists of the future, people who want to be the PR people of the future. Any advice for them?
They have an allegiance to the truth, and I really, really hope that is what they remember. I hope that's what their journalist teachers teach them. Their journalism professors teach them is that they have a allegiance to the truth above everything else, and I just can't stress that enough. I mean, if we don't see that, and if they don't see that, it's going to be really hard.
That is both a worrisome and challenging and inspiring place to end our conversation, I think, because I think you're totally right. Totally right. We are going to segue in now into the rapid fire question portion of our podcast. where we steal a page from inside the actor studio, ask our guests a series of rapid fire questions. I'm sure you're going to love these, Peter.
Go for it.
Ready? Here we go. Rapid fire question number 1. What is your favorite news source?
It's a great question. I like the New York Times. I like the crossword. I also have a personalized track on news.google.com that I've spent years cultivating to be perfect.
All right, we will look that up for sure. Rapid fire question number 2. What's your favorite social media platform?
I hate every single one of them. No, I'm a fan of. I like Instagram. It's if nothing else, there are some phenomenal photographers on Instagram, and I love being able to look at those as a photo major in grad school. I love being able to look at those pictures.
Fantastic. Rapid fire question number 3. I usually ask everybody coffee or alcohol. I will allow you to substitute coffee or whatever, because I know we both don't drink.
It's funny. I'm not a huge water guy. I mean, I'm not a huge coffee guy. I'm more of a water guy. I love my water. I love my club. I've gotten into club soda over the past several years, and I unfortunately I have a Diet Pepsi habit that no matter how healthy I get, will never ever go away.
When I stopped drinking, I was amazed at how much flavored seltzer out there I didn't know was out there. It's just amazing, and I just keep cases of it in the refrigerator.
Oh
yeah, it's incredible. Rapid fire question number 4. What is your favorite on the run food?
My favorite food, no matter what the situation, is pizza, which is not which goes against what I'm trying to do with this goddamn Ironman. So I would say my on the run food, things that I keep in my bag. I love. I'm currently addicted to these sugar-free ice pops and like 4 different flavors that I keep in my freezer, and it's like my go-to. They have 0 calories. They taste like ice pops, and they get me through and having a craving. But overall, I always try to keep some beef jerky in my suitcase, as well as not Quest bars, Power Crunch bars. They're very low carb, and they taste really good.
And the ice pops must come in pretty handy with your daughter. I know there's.
It's funny. She doesn't love them as much as I do. I'll go through 3 boxes of them, and she's more about like she wants an apple with Nutella. That's her thing. It's crazy.
Your daughter and my daughter should hang out.
No joke.
Rapid fire question number 5, and this may be a tough one for you too. I realize these questions are not Peter Shankman questions, but I'll ask it anyway. What do you want to be after you finish this career? You already had like 20.
Yeah, I think that one of the things I enjoy the most is embarrassing the shit out of my daughter, and so and she's 8, so I have 10 more years to do that. I'm really looking forward to that. You know, I wanted to wear. I wore a Thanos bathing suit today for my swim workout, and really wanted to wear it at a swim party that we had a couple of years ago for her, and she wouldn't come out of her room until I didn't wear it. So I'm hoping that I'm hoping that I can be that guy who you see in the YouTube videos who like shows up in a costume every day to pick his daughter up from school, because I just really want to do that. And but I will say that after this career, I love being on TV. I love speaking. I love consulting. I love helping people. So anything that allows me to continue to help people. And I'd like to also talk to my world about ADHD and things like that. And continue to show that that's a gift, not a curse.
Well, thank you, Peter, for sharing so much of yourself today. You are an inspiration to a lot of people, and including me. And wish you a lot of luck in the future. Please share with everybody how they can find you online.
So my entire world is shankman.com. I am peter@shankman.com by email, and I answer all my own emails. I am at Peter Shankman on all the socials. And if any of your listeners so desire, they can create a free account at rally.io and then send me an email and tell me their username, and I will send them some cryptocurrency for free.
There you go. You have your marching orders, listeners. Well, thanks again, Peter. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Please remember to subscribe to the show. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The PR Podcast, and send us a question or a comment. Our intro is by Christopher Apple. You can find him and his fantastic photography on Instagram at Christopher_APPOLDT. Check him out there and hire him for all your photography needs. You can find me online at Jody Fisher on all the socials, and online at jodyfisherpr.com. We'll see you next time on the PR Podcast.